and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Meta says that the removal of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Facebook video was a technical glitch. The government says that the explanation isn't enough. The controversy has reignited a larger debate about the growing power of big tech. At a time when Meta is facing scrutiny over AI deepfakes, child abuse advertisements and questions over its content moderation systems, it is also expanding into a hardware with AI-enabled smart glasses capable of recording photos and videos, often without those nearby immediately realizing they are being recorded. Critics argue that the company is shaping not just what we see online, but also how technology is entering our everyday lives. So who holds Meta accountable? Can a private platform decide what stays online and what disappears? And where should the line be drawn between moderation, innovation and accountability? Let's open up this conversation. Dr. Sharat Kohli, let's hear it from you about this apparently glitch, an innocent glitch that has appeared as per Meta, that the Prime Minister of the country, his video has disappeared, is not accessible to public once it was posted from his handle on social media, on Facebook. How credible do you think this justification given by Meta is?
Good evening, Megha, to you, my fellow panelists and the viewers. I think this looks too innocent an explanation. Out of all the people in India, only the Prime Minister's post got deleted. And considering the fact why Government of India said that this needs to be explained in a better way, we cannot accept your explanation on Faces, because on Instagram, which is another Meta platform, he's got 40 crore views on his reel. 40 crore views. So he's broken the world record of views which crossed 30 crore plus in 24 hours. Never before in the history of Instagram across the world, a single reel posted crossed 30 crore views in 24 hours. There may have been other reels with 30 crore, but not in 24 hours. So I think this was a blast for Meta. I mean, this was an extraordinary. And if you look at the reach, so Prime Ministers reaching out through Facebook and Instagram, I think should be a matter of pride for Facebook and Insta, unless of course they've got an agenda or they've got a point to prove, or they've got some vengeance, or they probably want to prove their might, that how strong big tech can be. We can probably target anybody and everybody. Anyway, they have restored the video. So let's wait for the final outcome. But this looks too innocent an explanation, which is why Government of India has not accepted this explanation. We need to keep in mind, there have been complaints about the big tech, mega from across the world. Recently, I did a show where Google has been fined $800 billion for by EU. So that is being questioned because it was supposedly showing some search engine results which were totally biased towards EU companies. They were not fair. So I think there has to be a line drawn, because a platform which is running for itself, they have some liberty, there's no doubt. But you have to make sure that, in Hindi, there is a very interesting saying which applies in this case. I would love to say it here. I hate saying Hindi words here. कि एक घर तो चुड़ैल भी छोड़ देती है. So they could have at least spared the Prime Minister of the country. You could have spared him. You have so many others to delete. There are copyright issues. There are vulgarity issues. There are other issues, conflict of national interest,
yes,
and so and so.
But of course you understand it too well that this was not a technical glitch. This was the deletion that was made by design. And there have been several instances across the globe. If you remember the 2020 January insurrection that took place in America, there were charges against Facebook, against Meta, against a number of social media platforms for fomenting hate, igniting hate and terror and violence, which led to a large number of people getting incited and then causing what happened in January 2020. There have been instances with the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal that had also happened, where the profiles of the Facebook users were used, Their data was used maliciously without the consent of the users. And there have been elections. This is legit. This is credible information. Elections have been won on social media platforms. If you remember the 2024 elections that happened in America, TikTok was used. In fact, Donald Trump's youngest son, Barron, was the one who was given the responsibility of actually using TikTok and spreading the word, and which led to results that led to the victory of the current president of America. So it's not just an innocuous error that has emerged, Sharad. It is done by design.
Megha, just one sentence. We are discussing this in the backdrop of the fact that this whole cockroach Janata Party and the protest which happened at Jantar Mantar, tell me, was it not on account of Instagram? This was a creation of Instagram. I mean, the cockroach Janata Party and this whole protest owes its existence, its success, or whatever they want to call it, on Instagram. And Prime Minister, you came on the same platform to probably give an explanation, to console them, to tell them that we are looking at a solution. Elections have been won, elections have been lost, and this time this was a unique case where Instagram created with the Gen Z, by Gen Z, that Abhijit Dipke out there in America, he created overnight, it had 2 crore followers. So all of a sudden, Instagram becomes a hit. And big tech became a platform. First Jantar Mantar was Instagram. Jantar Mantar at Parliament Street was secondary. First Jantar Mantar was Instagram itself. So I think we need to look in the backdrop that how powerful big tech has become, which is causing so much of social revolution around the world, Megha.
Yes, absolutely. The fact that the Prime Minister of the country himself has seen his presence, ensured his presence on Instagram. He has made those videos, selfie videos, just to be in tune with the youngsters, the youth of the country, the Gen Z, to connect with them, put out those social media posts, put out those selfie videos at midnight, thrice, 3 times in 3 days, really shows how significant, how important and how powerful a tool social media is in building the narrative, in reaching out to the people that you want to speak to put their message across. I'm also being joined by Sakshar Duggal. He's a cyber expert. Sakshar, here in a situation such as this, what kind of action can be taken by the government, by MeitY?
Well, thank you so much, Megha. And well, the stakes are high, but sorries are not enough. It's not the first time where these days Facebook has made so-called errors. And when I talk about the Indian law, Section 79 of the IT Act, which talks about the intermediary liability. Well, in so I would not call it as error, but a blatant error. Why? Because yes, I can understand these days AI generated content is there. They have their different softwares in place, but at the same time, as a big tech giant, it's your sole responsibility to have proper justifications, proper systems in place as to why why that error was caused. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about India. You talk about any country in the world, if the similar instance would happen in any country where a president or prime minister's video has been deleted, it has further ramifications. Right now, MeitY is asking for answers. If you ask me, obviously Meta would try its level best just to call it as a technical glitch. But here it's not about technical glitch, but a loud message by MeitY that being a tech giant is not a joke. You have your sole responsibilities in place. Just because you can't say that, okay, there are technical errors. I am going to come back to you,
Sakshar. We are not able to see you. There is an audio glitch. I will come back to you. I'm being joined by Adit Kothari also. I'll get him into the conversation. Adit, when Facebook and when X was Twitter, had decided to, bar Donald Trump, his account was removed. He was banned from X. And that was a position that was taken by the founder, because it's a private company. It's a big tech company. It's a private company. It is not sponsored by the government or the opposition. So at the end of the day, the liberty is with these big tech companies, the Metas and the Facebooks and the X's of the world, to make a decision. But the question about whether they also have the responsibility that comes with this massive, gathering of people from all across the globe, where decisions, narratives are built now on digital platforms and not on the ground.
So, Megha, I think the big tech has become too big for even accountability. And they are turning these platforms into agenda and narrative driven platforms, which is a dangerous trend. Thanks to people like Elon Musk, who after taking over X, he has crippled that narrative to a great degree, and he's ensured that free speech remains there with certain amount of accountability, and the accountability is in the form of community standards and community notes and those kind of things. When you look at Meta's, this is not the first time Meta has indulged in this sort of criminality. The problem is with the government. I think the government is completely disconnected from the realities of what the kind of harms and the threats that social media basically present, and they are not willing to basically take them to task. The EU have done this, Germany has done this, Australia have taken Meta to task. They've fined them crazy amount of fines for basically breaching European frameworks and Australian frameworks. Why can't India do this? Because they mask their anonymity in the garb of some sort of IT rules. The IT rules come much later. Because I put out information on Instagram. I put out content on Instagram, so I know exactly how it works. First when you put it out and when it gauges a little bit of traction, the AI basically comes in and reads the data, reads the content. If it doesn't find any issues with your content, then it passes through. However, if it does flag certain issues, the next round is for a human intervention. So this is not a technical glitch, and Meta is trying to get away with an easy get out of free jail card by saying there is a technical glitch. There is definitively a human hand behind this, especially with a particular content which broke the internet. This is not some frivolous social media influencer or account like mine that Meta would be looking at it from a different perspective. This is the Prime Minister of the country. So it has definitely been flagged, because there are also chats within the WhatsApp groups of the Cockroach Janata Party that any content which goes against our narrative should be reported, because reporting ensures that that content basically gets taken down. So there is that aspect also, and I don't think the government of India should basically let this one go. Meta needs to be held to higher standards. Their algorithms must be made much more transparent to the government, so the government can understand that how are they actually stitching up narratives and using false information and disinformation and half informations to peddle narratives which are causing issues like what we saw in Jantar Mantar. Megha.
I'm also being joined by Amit Malhotra. He's a cyber expert. Amit, why is Meta taking it all so non-seriously? Even the justification it has come out says that it was erroneous. This was a technical glitch. Do you think it will be able to, get a free pass here, or because it is too easy for it to, come out of it unscathed, so it doesn't even care?
Ma'am, basically, by my opinion, the incident highlights the importance of transparency, ma'am, and accountability in the digital age. By either open admitting the error and taking immediate corrective action, Meta has demonstrated its willingness to address technical issues. Uh, and Meta improved content monitoring process also in this way. The government of India has also responded by seeking common company officials has been some moved to understand how error occurred. But to ensure that stronger safeguards are put in place to prevent similar incident in the future. So that's why there are some constructive dialogues between the government and technology companies plays a vital role in strengthening digital governance and maintaining public trust. So that's why
Okay.
a social media platform always continue occasionally. Technically errors can occur.
Okay, so you still believe that this is a technical error actually?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. Dr. Sharkoli, what do you have to say to Amit Malhotra?
Well, I think it is not fair to conclude that this is a technical error because Adit has very beautifully explained that there is an AI, and then AI cannot automatically pull off, a post. There has to be a human intervention. Now, the fact, I think Meta should have been proud because normally when the Prime Minister comes and speaks to people of the country, it has been happening through television medium. You must be aware there is Doordarshan, there is All India Radio. He does his Man Ki Baat through All India Radio. Now it should be a matter of pride for Meta that for a public address, for addressing the nation. Obviously, it was the way he made the selfie like a typical Gen Z, putting the phone in front of him in a vertical format. And in fact, some people said that the phone was too close to his face. Well, that's a typical way any Gen Z would do, without being bothered about how he is looking on the screen and so and so. So they should be proud that, that Prime Minister of the country is using their medium to reach out to and the idea of Prime Minister was that it was Instagram which basically created this whole party, and it was Instagram through which he was broadcasting. Of course, there is a system where if you post on Instagram, it automatically comes on Facebook as well. You can link the two. But it wasn't removed from Instagram, it was removed from Facebook. So obviously, there has to be a human intervention. So the motive behind this deletion is what the government of India wants to know. That if it is a technical glitch, we have IT expert, there is Ministry of Information and Technology. Come and explain to us as to how did this happen automatically.
The question here is that why are these big tech companies, including Meta, always take these things very lightly? This is not the first time that these big tech companies are summoned. MeitY calls them. They are parliamentary panels who sit summoning these top executives who are residing over here in India and running Meta operations and Facebook operations and Instagram operations. But nothing really, nothing substantial is taken. Action is not taken. They are not reprimanded. They are not forced to pay the price.
Because there's a very simple answer, Megha. That imagine a situation that in this country there is no Facebook, there is no Instagram, and there's no WhatsApp, the three prime platforms of Meta. So I think the relationship between these big techs and government of India is complementary. They have to obey the rules of the country. If there is an IT law, you have to obey the rules. You cannot get away with anything and everything in this country. In fact, when they go to Europe, they have been fined so many times. They have been questioned so many. They were questioned in Australia. They were questioned across Europe. They've been questioned by UK so many times. I think Adit is aware of that. They've been questioned so many times. So they are answerable. They cannot get away. But deep down inside, Megha, what I'm going to say is important. They know that at this point of time, they have become sort of indispensable. So there is some complacency there, which they will have to explain. But while studying this aspect, keep in mind that people who travel to China, what happens when you land in China? There is no Facebook, there is no Instagram, there is no WhatsApp, there is no Amazon. So how does China run? So it is not that these people are completely indispensable. However, they think that they are indispensable. And I think let's wait for the final explanation, because government is not going to let this go off the hook. Let the final explanation come. I'm sure they will have to explain very, very comprehensively, instead of just saying that, oh, it got deleted. He's right. Adit is right. This wasn't an influencer's post. This wasn't a roadside vendor's post. Okay, fine. I posted something. This was the Prime Minister of the country. So, that saying of mine, कि एक घर तो चुड़ैल को छोड़ना चाहिए. I'm sorry to say that.
Okay, on that note, I am going to take a short break. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views. I'll take a short break. Thanks for watching NewsX.